Hey there's Zach here. This is going to go through our home selling strategy from beginning to end. It's going to be pretty detailed. Feel free to watch this, and then when we, ideally, then we come over to your house so we could see it in person, and then we could talk list price and all of those things. But this kind of gets into the weeds on what it is we do, because what we do is a little bit different. I like to say that selling your home is not rocket science. But in order to get top dollar, there is a science to it. It's strategic, it takes marketing and experience. There's a big gap between an average agent and a great one. And in today's market, that gap is going to cost sellers thousands of dollars. And let alone if you get a below average agent. But digital exposure is more important than ever. And we're going to get into that. So the market has shifted. 2025 has changed pretty dramatically. The average days on the market for everything active on the market finished the year at 70, and we're beginning the year right around there. That's the longest I've ever seen. I've been in real estate since 2010. Now, for everything that closed, 2019, I put that in there because pre-pandemic, this was just kind of a normal, stable, healthy market. The average days on the market for everything closed was 36. Then in 2024, obviously 20 and 21 were crazy, so I'm not going to even dive into those. But 2024 saw, rates go up, the market started stabilizing from the craziness of the pandemic, and but 2025, everything that closed out for the year averaged 48 days. So again, 70 for everything active on the market, 48 days for everything that closed. That's the longest thing we've had since the bubble burst. So I just say all that to say we're in a different market. There's a lot of um, things sitting, things not selling. We actually had over 1,000 homes in 2025 cancel or expire, meaning they couldn't sell or didn't sell. That was dramatically up because in 2024 that number was 650, and in 2023 that number was 500. So in 2 years we basically doubled how many things didn't sell at all. Homes are taking longer to sell. The average days on the market are up. Buyers have more choices. In the summer of 2025, and I imagine this is where we're going to get in 2026. I'm making this in January as of right now, and I'll probably update this video as we go quarterly. But in summer 2025, we got to over 900 active listings. That's almost the most we've ever had, other than 2018 when rates first jumped from when we were in like the threes or the low fours. We jumped to over five, went to five and a quarter in 18, and we got to almost 1,000 houses. Now I've been in real estate since 2010. I've never seen 1,000 houses on the market in Santa Clarita. So this year in 2025, or last year in 2025, we got up there. So more homes, more options for buyers. And then on top of it, buyers are just being pickier, right? The rates are high, prices are up. So buyers are being the pickiest I've ever seen them. I'm seeing buyers not want to write offers on things, because they don't like the paint or the carpet. And that used to be assumed that those are some things that you might have to change when you get in. And it's just a different time where, and because there's more options and buyers are willing to go, and this doesn't work, let's keep looking, and more things are coming to the market, right? Now, the average agent is still using the same old playbook, especially as far as just putting a listing on the MLS. A lot of these buyers are not coming from Santa Clarita either, or most of the buyers are not coming from Santa Clarita. So in this market, presentation, marketing, and exposure, they're not optional. It's everything. So let's talk about how we've adapted here. Next Home, if a lot of people haven't heard of it, it is the fastest growing real estate franchise in the country, and it has been. There's over 700 offices now. Actually, was the number one real estate franchise in the country back in 2019. Cherrie and I are the owners. We bought into the franchise in 2017, so we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary next year. Um, but what they do differently is they really focus on technology. A lot of these real estate companies are still operating the way that they were 10, 20, 30 years ago. It's amazing how much these real estate companies have been kind of behind the times. And we noticed this at some of our previous companies. So Nexum kind of changed that. They really dove into the technology and really dove into these strategic partnerships. A lot of companies, real estate companies, were afraid of Zillow all these years. They were the big bad wolf in our industry, but Next Home recognized that they're not going anywhere. So they actually teamed up with them and partnered with them early on, which meant better syndication. So when we take a listing, we're getting faster syndication into onto the Zillow sites versus having these lags, and just some other things that I don't really need to get into the weeds on, but they just understood it, and they hired a company, a big branding company, that had done things with American Express, Mastercard, Rolls Royce, blah blah blah. But they helped brand Next Home, came up with this cute little Luke, the orange mascot. And again, not things that are important, but that's why we like this company, because they just really got it. They understood the technology. They partnered with Nextdoor, Zillow, like I said, but even adapted things like DocuSign, which a lot of the companies again were kind of avoiding them, and they folded these things into the back end, so it makes our life easier and just better syndication and better for us as listing agents to sell houses. My wife Cherrie and I, we've been basically the number one, number two, or number three team in Santa Clarita for over 10 years now. We've averaged 100 plus homes a year sold for about a decade. Cherrie's been in real estate since 2003, so she's come up on 23 years, and I've been in real estate now since 2010, so come up on 16. We've helped thousands of families at this point, and we have hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews online. We have the most Yelp reviews of any realtor in Santa Clarita, and all these places you can find us. If you just simply type in Cherrie and Zach anywhere, you can find us, check our reviews. Um, we're very proud of our reputation and our name within the community. I've lived in Santa Clarita pretty much my whole life. My mom moved me here when I was pretty young, and Cherrie actually grew up in Hawaii, but then moved to Antelope Valley when she was 12, and then pretty much grew up in Santa Clarita from there. So we are Santa Clarita residents, have been. It feels like my whole life, but I think I got here when I was like 6 or 7. And then what makes us different, why sellers choose us, is our innovative marketing. And obviously I'll get into this, but we just create more exposure to where the buyers actually are. Our strategic networking relationships do matter. How we reach out to the other agents are important. It's not just being in a networking group. It's getting to all the agents to let them know about the property. We have some great resources from staging and prepping checklists and home warranty, things we'll get into here, and a moving kit, free boxes, all these things that are included to you. Obviously, our proven experience, if we're selling 100 plus homes a year, that experience is more than anything. We're in the market. We're doing this weekly. The average agent actually sells 4 or 5 houses a year. That means, if you hire an agent that hasn't sold a house in 3 months, do they understand the nuances of where the market is today, versus where it was the last time they had a listing 3 or 4 months ago? Our experience, obviously, like I mentioned, that transparency and trust. We are straight shooters. We will always say what we think is the best, because we're looking out for you. We're not here to yes man people, and I think that's a big mistake that a lot of agents can make. It's they are afraid to speak up and say, hey, I think the list price should be this, because they want to win the listing, so they're just going to tell sellers what the seller wants to hear sometimes, and that may not be in the best interest of you, the seller, actually, because days on the market is the killer right now. If we don't get the attraction in the first 7 to 10 days, or maybe really 2 weeks, then you're probably missing the boat. And the further you get on the market, obviously it's going to be much more difficult to get your list price. If you get to 30, 60, 90 days on the market, which is happening, if the average is 70 for everything that's on the market, there are things that have been on the market for a few months, and you don't want to end up in that position. And then transparency and trust, like I said, clear communication. We'll be straight shooters. And then our work ethic. We really do work 7 days a week. We're available when you're available. We understand that life is, with work, kids, sports, all that stuff. We're obviously parents. We're available. If we've got to take a call at night or in the morning, that's how it is. And we're here when you need us. Now, the strategy behind every successful sale, it gets pretty hard to move my face around here. The strategy behind every successful sale, there's no guessing. There is a strategy behind everything we do. There's intention with how we're doing things. We'll walk through exactly what makes us different here step by step, but our entire approach is built around that maximum exposure. So the more people see your house is going to equal the more offers we get, right? If one person comes to your house and they like it, cool, you got an offer, but are you Are they negotiating against anybody? Who has the leverage in that position, especially if you sat on the market for 50 or 60 days? Now, if we could drive 10, 20, 30 people to your property, that maximum amount of exposure is going to equate to maximum amount of offers, which is going to equate to maximum amount of dollars. Um, Nothing's left to chance, from photos and videos to what we use AI for, how we're doing retargeting with our ads. We're running ads and targeting actual buyers, but we use this proven 6-step system every single time. This is why our homes sell faster, attract more offers, and typically for more money. Well, the average is 70 days on the market for everything on the market and 48 days for everything closed. We're averaging 17 days. So I'm beating the average for Santa Clarita by basically a month, a long month of 31 days. And of course, faster and more offers going to equate for more money. Some people think like, well, we have time to wait. We can wait for a better offer. But that, we work with buyers too, right? We see something that's 30, 45, 60 days on the market. That buyer thinks that they can get that thing 50, $60,000 under asking, even if that's not necessarily true. The buyer's mentality plays into effect here too. So standing out is everything. Like I said, it doesn't happen by chance. Every step is strategic, but the old methods of selling homes do not work. I mean, Homes and Land magazines still exist, and there are still agents that are spending dollars to put an ad in a magazine. That's insane to me, especially obviously with, social media and the digital world that we live in. I'm sure you're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of those places. We are spending dollars and running ads. And not only are we running ads, we can target people that have interest in buying a house based on what they're clicking on. And we can run those ads, more importantly, into the zip codes of the people that we know are moving to Santa Clarita. Like I said, a lot of the buyers are not coming from Santa Clarita. Most of the buyers are not coming from Santa Clarita. Most of the buyers are coming from Glendale, Burbank, Pasadena, even West Valley, like Canoga Park, Woodland Hills, and then other parts of LA. So we should be running these ads into those zip codes and then targeting people that we know are interested in buying a home because they've clicked on things that suggest that they're buying a home. Agents that don't get this are really missing the mark. And this is the difference between selling fast and for more money and sitting on the market for months and selling for less and or not selling at all. Now, first we have to really understand who the buyer is. The buyers are getting younger. They're coming from outside Santa Clarita, like I mentioned. They're on social media and mobile devices, obviously. So putting your home in the MLS only is simply not enough. A sign in the yard and on the MLS is not going to cut it today. You know, 86% of buyers said that they're more likely to view a home if the listing includes a floor plan. We're looking into all of these stats, we're hearing it, and then we're adjusting accordingly as we go. So of course we're going to include floor plans in all of our listings. Of course, we're going to include the Zillow 3D tour where they can move throughout the house because that's what they want. So let's make our listing stand out by offering and tailoring how we're providing our presentation to what the buyers actually want. Listings with video receive 400% more inquiries. So, of course, we're doing wide format video like for YouTube, and then vertical style format for Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, right? And then those are two different sets of ads that are running. We're running ads over here on YouTube. We're running ads on Facebook. We're running the vertical ads. We're casting a wide net to hit every possible buyer that's out there. Real estate is becoming visual first. I mean, I think that's a given, but I think sometimes people don't think about it and process it. And I know a lot of agents don't process it because there's still agents that are not using professional photography. I mean, it's 2026. That's insane to me. If a agent's going to walk in and take pictures on their cell phone, and those are the listing pictures that make it online. I mean, that's absolutely just insane. Online home buyer shoppers online it's very much like online dating. The moment a new house just hit the market and their phone beeped and they open it to whatever their favorite app is, whether it's Zillow or whatever, they're open it, and then right there immediately they're going to see the pictures. So if they're going to start swiping, if they don't like what they see, that is out of sight, out of mind. They may not even ever circle back to that home. Now, that's bad pictures. I've seen agents list properties into the MLS and not even put the pictures in for another day or two. So everyone just got that alert that a new property just hit the market and then had no pictures. It's not like it re-notifies people when the pictures go in. So again, you've just lost the interest of people. We really have to appeal, just like any marketing, we have to appeal to, the emotional side. We got to make people excited. These pictures have to look good. There's so many stats that say, you know, what all this means and how many people prefer the good pictures, but it just seems like it's common sense, right? I mean, if you were recently single and you woke up this morning and you're going to go build an online dating app portfolio, are you going to get your hair done and clean yourself up? Or are you just going to wake up and be like, hello world? I mean, it's so blatantly obvious, but I can't tell you how many properties we see that this wasn't part of the consideration. And that's screwing the seller, right? If they don't, if the first impression is everything for your home, the moment you hit the market, that first impression, how you look in that thumbnail is everything. And if you didn't get that right, and there's a Venn diagram of potential buyers that would be interested in your home, how many people did you just lose right off the bat because the presentation wasn't decent? These are real photos that I've taken from the MLS that made it to the market. I mean, this is a condo complex. That guy is out of the picture in 5 seconds. Let him go. This is awful. Why are you taking close-ups of the tub with your cell phone and all the crap that's in there? That doesn't make sense. This is awful. A good photographer can, even on a gloomy day, can clear up the sky just to make the picture look better. This is just a bunch of junk in the kitchen. This is probably the actual agent's own clipboard. Why are we looking at your dark hall? Is it haunted? Are you showing us something? This is probably taken later in the day or the evening or at night. The lighting is awful. You're not showing it well. Again, crap on the counters. This looks cluttered. This gets people, it's too busy. It's confusing people. They're not now looking at the actual kitchen. They're going, what's all this junk on your refrigerator? Same thing here. It's just not, we want to think every step through, make every step right, so we have the most amount of exposure to get the most amount of people to the property. Now, a lot of people say these wide angle lenses ruin the pictures, but this is the difference between professional photography and then me taking the same picture from the same location with my cell phone at that moment. Now, the wide angle lens, it really is just to make it look like how it would look when our eyes are there, right? We're going to see with our peripheral vision the whole room instead of condensing it and only seeing part of it, but it shows the whole thing. But more importantly, how the photographer does this is when they take this picture on the right, this isn't just one picture. This is like 4 or 5 different images, from a really dim light to a really bright light, and then the different layers in between. And then they go and they stack the photos. That's how you're going to get these pictures where you can see through the window, because they're basically, in the real dim light, you can see out. When it's real bright in here, then those windows are blown out, right? So they're basically photoshopping 4 or 5 images together to get the perfect image. But like in this picture with my phone, you can't even tell that the walls and the ceiling are different colors, just simply because of how the color saturation and the light is working. But here you can tell that this is definitely more of like a gray, right? And the ceiling is more of a white, and the cabinets are more of like a taupe. So you're really seeing those differences in person and how it looks with how our eye would see it versus how the cell phone shows. Now, this isn't horrible, but this is much better. And it really shows the contrast of the colors and everything. It's more accurate, And again, fewer clicks, fewer people that get interested, or fewer people that come, that equates to fewer offers, you know? This was a property that sat on the market for 90 days with another agent. The seller fired the agent and then hired us. We came in. Now, I did a couple things in this property because this was the family room and they had their dining room table in the family room, and the piano was in where the dining room was. So, I came in personally and moved the table over here, moved the piano back into the family room. We did end up painting this wall red, and not because we hated the red wall, but honestly, we just wanted to look different because they were on the market for 90 days. And here we were basically going to come on the market the next week. So I just wanted people that had already maybe seen it as we come back to go, oh, I already saw that one. I at least wanted to maybe trick them a little bit and go, oh, is this a new one? Just because we were looking a little bit different. So, if I had first met the sellers on this, I wouldn't have said, oh, paint the wall. I just was trying to stand out a little bit different. But just doing that, we sold in the first weekend. They had sat on the market for 90 days. The seller at that point, after 90 days, probably would have taken, if they had gotten on an offer for, let's say, 20,000, 25,000 under asking, they probably would have taken it because they sat for 3 months. We sold it in that next weekend with multiple offers and went a little bit over asking simply by having a better presentation and then running these ads to attract more people to the property. It's so nothing crazy. It's just the difference in the presentation and how we're marketing the home. Whoa, that got really loud. I'm trying to pause that. Pardon me. It's coming. Well, it's really loud on my end. I imagine you can hear that too. That woke me up. Let me see if I can pause it one more time. Okay. Wow. Now, the photos show it, but the video sells it. Like I mentioned, we have the wide format videos for YouTube, and then we have the vertical videos for Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, etc. Buyers want to feel the lifestyle, not just see the photos. Just like I mentioned before, video listings with videos get 400% more inquiries. These are real stats out there in our world. A lot of agents don't order the video or don't order both of these, or they simply just go post it on their Facebook page. But that's not what we're doing here. We're running actual real world ads. I don't even think there's another agent in Santa Clarita that's running YouTube ads. And I'll show you in a minute. We'll show you our YouTube page. I mean, we're getting thousands and thousands of views on these. And again, it's not just random people. We're only running ads to people that we know have been on a mortgage calculator or been on Zillow. There's a whole list of things that they've done that suggests that they're actually a buyer. Then we're targeting these zip codes. We're running it in Santa Clarita as well, but then we're targeting Glendale, Burbank, Pasadena, et cetera, because that's where the buyers are coming. So, it's not just simply getting the video and putting it on my Facebook page. It's what you do with it is what matters. Now, I'm sure this has happened to you. You've gone on Google, you've typed in shoes, you've looked for shoes, you've clicked on shoes, you're trying to find some shoes, whatever you're doing. And then, after you do that, you go on Facebook, or you even go on a different website, Instagram, right? These ads now for shoes are following you around. That's exactly what we're doing, but we're doing it for real estate. So we can run these ads to people that have done these things online that suggest that they're interested in buying a home. So we're then following them everywhere they are. That's targeted social media ads. And we find this to be so effective because what's really important is, obviously, like I mentioned, the buyers are not coming from Santa Clarita right now. I mean, studies show that it's like 70% of the buyers right now are coming from out of the area. And think about that. Here's why. Let's say a Santa Clarita family has a 1,500 square foot home and they desperately need some bigger space. Let's say they had another baby or two during the pandemic, and now they're just busting at the seams in their house. Well, presumably they've got a 3% or better interest rate on their 1,500 square foot house. So as much as they want to get to 2,000 or 2,200 square feet, that jump up for them to sell that home, take the equity, and jump from a 3% to a 6% interest rate is such a big leap. That used to be, back in the day, maybe like $1,000 or a little over dollars a month jump, but now it's a few thousand or 3,000 to make that jump. So we're just not seeing a lot of Santa Claritians make that move. They're kind of all stuck in place. Maybe some first-time home buyers out there in some of the lower price points, but for a first-time home buyer to go jump into $1 million price point, that's pretty rare, because that payment, depending on down payment, could be as high as over $8,000 a month. So, but these folks in Glendale, Burbank, Pasadena, right now, 1,100 square feet in Burbank is well over $1 million, and built in the 50s. So they can sell that home there, even if they have a lower interest rate, take their equity, presumably, three, four, five, $600,000, as those values have gone up dramatically as well, and then come out here and they can buy into a lower price point, like an eight or $900,000 house, and get more square footage. So there's a value to them. There's a perceived value that they're getting more house for less money out here. So then they're okay absorbing that 6% interest rate because they're buying a cheaper home, maybe even pocketing some of their equity and keeping their payment similar, close, or a slight bump up, right? So that's such an important part to what's going on, and that's why we're trying to reach those people, because not all of them are actively on the MLS right now. Sometimes it takes the property in front of their face to see it and then go, "Oh wow, look what I can get in Santa Clarita for 900 grand. Let's go out to the open house." And all of this is built around, you know, still having an open house. I know a lot of agents say that open houses don't work, but we're very picky in particular about, we only want to go on the market on a Wednesday into a Thursday, prefer Wednesday, but if, whatever, however timelines work out, we could do it Thursday as well, because we want to run ads Thursday and Friday to then drive traffic to the open house on the weekend. And as the market has slowed down, where we used to do Saturday and Sunday open houses, we're even going down to just one day, because if there's, you know, 10 or 15 people that want to see the property, why split them up into 2 days? Let's try to get all those people into the open house at the one time, because I want to get those people in the room together at the same time. That's the key. How do I drive them to the open house so they're standing in the room with other people that they think are interested, and they're going, they get back in the car like, "Hey babe, this is going to go fast. Like, we need to take an action on this." We're trying to create that sense of urgency that people don't really have in this market. The market isn't creating the urgency. We need to create it ourselves. And these are examples of some of those ads. So some Instagram ads, 3,500, 3,500, 4,000, 6,000. Some of these go viral on their own. We're spending ad dollars to run ads to drive traffic. And sometimes, man, I can barely see that. So I don't know if your side you can see that. I know these often get, 10, 12,000. I think both these are like 9,000, 6,000. Here's our YouTube channel on the bottom here. I gotta wait for the bottom bar to go away, but you can see 6,000, 7,000, 11,000, 10,000, 9,000. Seven's pretty average. Most things are getting more like a 10 to 12,000. And we're talking, this is like the first, 2 weeks essentially on the market. And then the whole point is running the ad as for the open house, right? Hey, come to the open house this weekend, Saturday, 2 to 4, or whatever it is. And then pack those people in, like I said, creating urgency. The exposure creates the demand, the views become clicks, and the clicks become people that actually come to the property becoming buyers. Now, AI is everywhere. What are we really doing with it? It really helps us follow up with these people once they click on things. When they get into our website, then the AI is, emailing them, texting them, asking them if they want to see the property, sending them more pictures, sending them more videos. We're getting thousands and thousands of clicks on that ad, and then we're just trying to funnel them to the system and follow up with them to get them to take the action, right? They're getting in the site. We're trying to, it will talk to them. It will ask them what they're looking for. Have you seen this one? Or, it's following up with them. Are you coming to the property? We have, this number is even pretty low. This is what's in our actual website searching. We're probably at about 8,000 people right now. That has to be one of the highest in Santa Clarita for agents. I don't know that, because I wouldn't know what everyone else is getting, but we've been doing this for so long and running so many of these ads that agents don't, that I know that our attraction, our magnet for these buyers. So we have more buyers in our system, I imagine, than any other agent in Santa Clarita. So when we take a new listing, I can email 8,000 people right off the bat of just buyers going, "Hey, new property, coming," or, "Hey, did you see this one? Open house Saturday, 2 to 4." We have real world buyers shopping on our site. We also have a database of, like I said, my wife has been doing this for over 20 years. Our database of past clients, you know, HR departments in town, people at the, within the city. We have an extensive database of thousands of people. So again, just emailing out. People want to share things. They're at Little Johnny's baseball game or Sally's dance recital, and it's like, oh, someone starts talking about real estate. Oh, this agent just sent me this property over here on the street for this much. People do share those things. So it's just trying to create word of mouth out there too, because that still is the fastest form of um, advertising. Now we want to put your home in front of the buyers on the sites that they're using. So we have syndication to obviously the top sites, as anyone does. But what we do that's a little bit different is we're doing the premier showcase on Zillow. And a lot of agents aren't doing this, and it's limited. They're capping this out to only 10% of the listings in Santa Clarita are allowed to do this. But a lot of agents aren't doing it because it's very expensive. But it's basically giving your property on Zillow a bump, where Zillow is now going to email it out to all of their buyers and go, look at this home. They're pushing the home. And Zillow has their own stats in here saying that it gets 81% more views, 75% more saves. It has a very detailed interactive 3D tour map. I'm sure you've seen these, and this is the one where you can click throughout the house into the different rooms, and it walks you through the 3D tour. And then it has this map style where you can click into all the rooms. And they're saying that they sell 10% faster, and that the showcase listings sell 2% higher. That's their stats. I don't know if that's verifiable, but I know we get a heck of a lot more traction on the Zillow showcase than previously, because we can track all the views, saves, and everything on a regular listing versus on a showcase listing. Now we're doing showcase on all of our properties. I know some agents out there are only willing to do this on the more expensive listings. We do this on every one of our listings because it's worth it. We're going to get more exposure. We're going to get more views. Again, that's what we're talking about. That's the name of the game. How do we get more um, eyeballs, traffic, offers, price? And then I kind of got ahead of myself a little earlier there talking about the open houses, but they do work. We're trying to, if we list on Wednesday, we're basically saying, hey, we don't prefer to have any showings until the open house. Obviously, we don't want to turn people away. So if somebody can't make it on the weekend and they only want to come on Friday, obviously we'll talk that out and we'll try to arrange a showing. But if I can get everyone to the open house, that's the goal. I want to get everybody walking through the property. Like I said, I want 10, 15 people in the room. So they're walking around, they're falling in love with the house. They're overhearing people going, oh man, look at the kitchen, look at that view. It's creating the sense of urgency that doesn't exist in this market. And that's what we're trying to accomplish, is to create that urgency so the buyers want to take action and write offers. We've had properties even recently that, that wrote an offer out of the open house. Actually just got one the other day over the weekend that went 25,000 over asking. I did not get another offer. That's that buyer scared that was going to get another offer and go higher over asking to secure the home just because of the fear that someone else is going to write an offer. And it didn't. So I know this method works. I believe in it. A lot of agents say open houses don't work, but they're not doing what we're doing. They're not running the ads. They're not getting the exposure. So yeah, them sitting there for 3 hours on a weekend to get one person through, they don't find that beneficial. Their time, they don't want to work the weekend. I've accepted the fact that I have to work the weekends. I'm not doing this for my benefit. I'd love to have the weekends. I have kids. I have baseball games and things I got to do. We're all parents trying to juggle our crazy schedules, but I know this is beneficial to you, the seller. That's why we do it, because it works. Outside of the open house, we have an app for agents to schedule showings. So, they're going to start booking appointments, and you're going to see these black dots or lines, take up a time and appointment. You're going to get a text saying, hey, there's a request for this time at this time. What's really cool is we can black out days that don't work, or black out times. If you only want showings from 1 to 6, then we black it out and just make the 1 to 6 available. And then, when we get the showing, you're going to get a text that's going to tell you what time that the appointment's coming through. I find this to be very beneficial. I also like the fact that agents are seeing other people book up the time slots. But again, this is after that first weekend open house, because we're trying to get a lot of the showings through the open house. That's the goal to begin with. There's other methods that we're doing to find buyers. We're not waiting for them. We're going to go find them. We're doing reverse prospecting. This is something really cool. When I take a listing and put it in the MLS, then I can basically go into my MLS and look for any agent that has criteria saved for a specific buyer that matches the home that I just listed. Then I can reach out to that agent directly. So it'll say, Agent Aaron has, a buyer criteria saved for 4 bedroom, 3 bath, under 2,500 square feet or whatever, under this price range. So I go through and I can find all those agents. Usually there's, 50 to hundreds. And then we can email all of them and go, hey, we just listed, making sure that they see the property, right? It's just trying to find the buyer in all these locations that we talked about. We're going to market to your neighborhood. We're going to send mailers out to your whole neighborhood and say, hey, we just listed this property. Oftentimes there's someone that lives in the neighborhood that their brother, cousin, aunt, uncle, grandparent, whatever, is thinking, a friend is thinking about moving to the neighborhood. So let's let them know that way. Obviously, we're emailing our database, like we said. We're emailing all of our buyers that are shopping on our website. We're running these digital ads, like I said, down to Glendale, Burbank, Pasadena, but we're also can run them around your neighborhood. And we could say, new listing on 123 Main Street. And then, they're going to get it as an ad, but they're going to go, oh, look. And it says your neighbor just listed their home. So again, we're just trying to hit all of the people at once so we can get as much traffic to the property at once and create that sense of urgency. The database I mentioned, we are in the premier network group in Santa Clarita that is only for the top 1%. Obviously, we let all of our agents know there. But more importantly, when we're networking with the agent, it's not just some networking group we're in. In my database, I have a list of, I think we're over 600 agents now, the top agents in Santa Clarita. There's over 2,000 agents out here. But, the top 50 are doing a lot, the old 80-20 rule. I mean, we're trying to hit everyone, but I've got over 600 of them in there. So I can one click in my database, I can send over 600 agents go, hey, this property just hit the market. Again, just trying to cover our bases to get to everybody everywhere at once. Open house this weekend. Please come to the open house. We talked about running things, mailers in your neighborhood, but we can actually run ads on Nextdoor, the app as well. So we're just trying to get all the people to the property at once. Talked about our networking group. Really, it's just, again, just reaching all the people at one time. These are the different places that we have people in our database. So it's, other lenders, other title reps, people just in the real estate world, all of your neighbors with the targeted ads, past clients of thousands, local businesses. We've got so many people in our database, HR departments, people from the Chamber of Commerce. We're spreading the word to get all those Venn diagram people to get to the property so we can get that sucker sold for the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. Some of the resources that we provide you, any agent can say this, and a lot of agents say that they do a lot of this stuff. I strongly, when you're interviewing other agents, ask for proof. I'll show you some of our ads that are getting these 10,000 views. A lot of agents say that they do these social media ads, but if we're not really showing you the proof, then is it real? And then once you do decide to hire us, we're going to send you weekly seller reports that are going to show all the views we're getting in all these spaces on the ads that we're running, because it's important to me that, you're not hiring me just because I can say all this, but we're going to prove to you that the results are happening. And I strongly encourage you to ask other agents that you're talking to show proof of the ads that they're running, where they're running ads. Let me see those numbers, because Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, we're going to show you the thousands of views that we're getting in all those locations. And then we have a free home staging consultation. So, depending on if you need it or not, we can have someone come over and walk through and give ideas for what needs to be done. And obviously, we'll make that determination when we come to the property, if that's something that you need or not, but we offer that and we take care of that consultation. Staging doesn't always mean adding furniture. It can mean just straightening up to better present the home. It's not necessarily staging in furniture, but we offer that consultation to see what it is that we do need. We offer free seller's coverage home warranty from the moment you sign a listing contract with us. We're going to put home warranty on your home. So if anything breaks while we're being listed, then, assuming obviously that it's covered by home warranty, then it's covered. We pay the deductible. It's no cost to you. This covers water heaters. It covers things like garbage disposals. It actually can cover if they do their home inspection and, the AC isn't working properly and it's just Freon, even though it's not called Freon anymore, refrigerant recharge, that's actually covered by the home warranty. So they can come out and recharge the Freon if the buyer asks for it and part of the request for repairs, it's covered by home warranty. So it's pretty cool. We've definitely had, I mean, we're probably up to 15, 20 water heaters over the years that have been covered by it, garbage disposals, lots of things that are covered. It's pretty cool. And it's good coverage for you, especially if, Murphy's Law, something's going to go wrong the moment we list the property. We offer you free moving boxes, 40 plus various sizes, with some wrapping. I think we moved away from the bubble wrap, but there's like the paper wrap to like wrap stuff, and tape and a tape gun. So just let me know if you need those, even if you don't need them necessarily at the end for moving. Sometimes you need them for decluttering. If you want to sort of pack things up before we get to the picture phase, then let me know and we can get those to you to get ready for that. We have this great utility transfer. This is a concierge service that they'll call you as we get about a week out from closing, and they'll remind you of all the things that you have to transfer, because it's not just changing your address, but it's like changing your address with your banks. If you have magazine subscriptions, like all this crazy stuff, they have a checklist of all the millions of things that you need to look at. I've actually moved a lot over the last couple of years. This has been a lifesaver because inevitably I would have forgot to change, one or more of some of these things. And it is very helpful. You can opt out of it if you don't want it. It just is a beneficial thing that we like to have. And then again, these are just some more examples of how the exposure works. Here's some Facebook ads, 10,000, 10,000, almost 10,000 on actual property. This is every property we do. We don't discriminate on a certain price point. I'm not just running these on $2 million homes. We're doing this for condos and entry level pricing because it works. Here's our Instagram ads, 6,000, 4,000, 3,500, 3,500. Here's our YouTube, 6,000, 7,000, 11,000, 10,000, 9,000, 11,000. This is normal. Again, there is a viralness. Like, these ads have the same dollar amount. This just, for whatever reason, went a little more viral with people sharing it, and then it picks up its own steam. But if on average we're reaching 20 to 30,000 across the platforms of actual buyers, that's very, very powerful. I mean, if we can reach out to 25,000 potential buyers from Santa Clarita to Glendale to Woodland Hills, inevitably that's going to drive more people to the property, more eyeballs on the property, more people at the property, more interest in the property, more offers on the property, more higher offers, more dollars in your pocket. And these are just some examples of them actual properties versus some of the competition in the area. This was a property. I was trying to remember what this one was here. This was bigger. This was on the market for 300 days, and I don't know exactly what's going on with that, but we came in the market, sold in 11. They were a little bigger. We were a little smaller. We sold for, 10,000 under our list price, but in 11 days versus 300 days. Oh, this one went for $1 million. So we got a 90,000 higher than a bigger property in the neighborhood. This is up off of Plum Canyon. And again, we sold in 4 days. We went over asking. This was pretty recent, where this one sat for 34 days and sold 5,000 under. So that's a $10,000 spread to the sellers, right? I think these are the same model. Yeah, these are the same model on the same street. And what's the difference? Like, we did have the seller tidy up this house a little bit. We painted a couple things and just cleaned it up a little bit, because we wanted to make that presentation. But the little that they spent, they got back. And I remember we cleaned the carpets on this one too. So I'm sure that the sellers can appreciate that $10,000 difference, and they're moving out of state. So getting an offer in the first weekend and then them be able to figure out their plan to move out of state versus sitting on the market for 30 days before they got an offer, it creates a little bit more uncertainty on what they're going to do next. This was a big one because this is that neighborhood off of Golden Valley that has really high Melrose. And we sold this one in the first weekend, sorry, my brain, I just have to like remember everything that happened there. And this wasn't that long ago, sorry. But it's hard to remember yesterday anymore. But we got multiple offers, went 40,000 over asking in the first weekend. I mean, that's impressive in the market that we've been in. To go over asking period is impressive right now, because all buyers are trying to get a deal and they're all trying to get closing costs covered and they're all trying to write under asking. But again, creating that sense of urgency with people that were walking into this property, and there's so many people in there, and them going like, oh God, like that's the only way that we're going to get 40,000 over asking. And I put this one in here that did sell for more, but this was 3,600 square feet. We were 2,300 square feet. For us to sell 10,000 under this, that sold 50,000 under asking, after 82 days on the market, that's a testament to what we're doing and how it works, and that it is different, because 3,600 square feet and 2,300 square feet are not selling for the same price, nor should they be. So that really is, this is a great testimonial for how this works. This is same model, same neighborhood. You know what? I took this when we were still pending, but we actually closed out at 665. So we went 15,000 over asking. These are 2-bed, 2-bath, 800 square foot little duplexes, but we went 650 and got 665. They went 660 and sold 8,000 under. So that's still a $13,000 difference to the two sellers for the same property in the same neighborhood at the same time. Now, this one is in here because this was on the market, as you can see, for 139 days with another agent. That's dang near 5 months, right? At this price. Didn't sell. Fired the agent, hired us. We did a few things differently, but really the presentation, there were some things that the picture they didn't do right. Like they didn't show some of the property in the picture. So there's some things we got right. But in the first weekend, we listed for the same price that they were sitting at, and we got 150,000 over asking. That's crazy. Now, I don't want to just show you all these to make someone think that you're going to get over asking every time. But this is crazy. I mean, this sat for 6 months. Why didn't it sell? What's different? How we're advertising the property is different. The people that came to the open house were coming from out of the area. We created such a buzz and such a stir at that property to get 150,000 over when it was sitting at the same price for 5 months. What's the difference? The difference is the presentation, the marketing, the approach. Now, this is really important because we offer a guarantee to all of our sellers. We have a no pressure day-to-day agreement. A listing contract by nature does not offer you, the seller, any chance to back out of that property. In fact, well, here, I'll go back. So we handwrite a clause into our contract that says that you can cancel this agreement with us at any time with 24-hour written notice while we're listed. Because if everything I'm saying doesn't come to fruition and we're not getting these showings and we're not getting these views and all this stuff that we promised, then go ahead and fire me. But if you're talking to other agents don't offer that clause in the contract. They might verbally tell you that they'll let you out of the contract, but that's not real if it's not written in the contract. Because at the end of the day, if you want to fire your agent, it's not up to the agent, it's actually up to the brokerage. And in this case, after 139 days, they wanted to fire the agent. The brokerage wouldn't let them out of the contract. They actually had to fight them to get out of that contract, as sad as that is. After the seller felt like they weren't doing a good job, they had their opportunity. It was on the market for about 5 months, and they were going to stick them to the contract, the 6-month contract on that. And I just feel like that's that's a bad business plan. If you've decided after you've hired us that it's not working out and that you don't want to work with us and you want to fire me, by all means, please fire me. Sorry, I have automatic lights. And I will let you out of the contract. And everything we've spent money on, the pictures and video, which is expensive, the staging consultation, the moving boxes, the ads. When we start running these ads, we're talking thousands of dollars that we're spending on these ads. It's not cheap, but we're willing to sacrifice and invest into our business because it works. And because those results that I showed you are real results from real sellers that we've really worked with, in 2025 there. Well, imagine how happy they are. Imagine the referrals that we're going to get from some of these sellers, versus imagine the referral this guy's going to get that wouldn't even let the seller out of the contract after not being able to sell the home after 4 months. So if you are talking to other agents, I highly suggest you ask them about a cancellation clause, because if they don't put it in, don't take their word on it. It's not up to them. Now, the good thing is A, we write it in, but also we are the broker owners of our company too. So we are the decision makers. Um, but it's just so important because we've seen and heard some horror stories of people not being able to get out of contracts after they even feel like they weren't being taken care of. We care more about our reputation and, our standing in the community than we do about a sale. We're never going to stick anyone to a contract. So this will always be handwritten into all of our contracts. And we're just so confident in everything that we said that it's real. These are real results. Again, thousands of transactions, hundreds. We're helping, averaging 100 families a year. It works, and that's why we keep doing it. And every year we go back and reflect on what did we do? What can we do better? We're constantly trying to add more things like, okay, is there a new marketing style that's out there? Is there something else we can add that's, like that Zillow showcase thing is pretty new. They just added that in the last year. We were all over that and jumped on that, especially because they're going to limit it to 10% of the market. We wanted to make sure that we were in on that because the buyers are on Zillow. Let's utilize that to sell our properties. Well, right on. Thanks for watching. I know this was a little long. Of course, if you have any questions, let me know. And I look forward to seeing you at your house, walking through, and we'll talk more in depth then.